Hi, I'm Laura Klein with OrganicAuthority.com TV, the internet's #1 eco-chic cooking show where everything is deliciously green and organic. So today I'm cooking up a lemon herb quinoa. Now, if you're not familiar with quinoa, it is really delicious. It was considered by the ancient Aztecs a mother grain, and it's super high in protein. So for you vegetarians out there, this is a must to have in your repertoire. And it's kind of like, like couscous. So if you really like couscous, I guarantee you're gonna love this. So here we go. We've got 1 cup of quinoa. Now you want to run it through a strainer and run it through fresh water about 3 times just to rinse it off. And I've got 2 cups of boiling water here, and I've also put in a little salt. So I'm just going to simply add my quinoa to this water. I'm going to use my rubber spatula over here to help me get the rest out. And this is going to simmer for about 15 minutes. So you want to leave it as is and leave it uncovered and just keep it over like a medium simmer. I'm going to set my timer. And there we go. So next up, we're just gonna make a simple vinaigrette you're gonna toss the quinoa in. So I'm going to add about 3 tablespoons of champagne vinegar here. You could also use white wine, you could use raspberry, you could use red wine, you could use really whatever you want. I'm gonna add a little salt and pepper. And by the way, all of these ingredients are organic, even the quinoa. It's super affordable, by the way. Quinoa is so great. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of citrus, actually lemon juice. You could use orange juice, you could use lime, you could really use whatever you want. I've got the zest of 1 lemon here. And by the way, these lemons all came from my garden and they're in season and they're going crazy. And this is 1 small shallot, finely chopped. Just gonna whisk that in. And I've got a little over 1/4 cup of olive oil. And we're just gonna whisk it all together like so. Now quinoa is really amazing. This can be a great accompaniment for chicken, fish, you can add vegetables to it, you can add cheese, tomatoes. It is super versatile. And we'll be right back after this is done. All right, so our quinoa has cooked until it's just under tender. You don't want to cook it until it's all the way tender. You want to do it just underneath that. So we're using a little bit of a different technique here. What we're going to do next is I'm just going to transfer it to this bowl, and we're going to do 1 more little step that's going to make it really light and fluffy. So I'm gonna bring about 1 inch of water to a boil in this pot. And we're gonna steam the quinoa over the water. And this is gonna give it a really nice, light, fluffy texture. So I put the quinoa back into a sieve or a strainer that's sitting over this water that's gonna come to a boil. Now I'm gonna cover this with a tea towel, and you wanna do this safely, particularly if you have a gas stove, because you don't want anything to catch on fire. And I'm gonna put a lid over it. Now the lid doesn't need to fit exactly right. You just wanna have a lid, that can sit on there. And we're gonna let that cook for another 6 to 8 minutes. All right, so we steamed the quinoa over 1 inch of hot water. Now, after that, I let it sit. I actually took the top off the pot and then took the strainer out of the pot, moved it over this bowl, and let it sit for another 5 minutes. So what you get is a really fluffy quinoa. And so we're just going to put it all in this bowl. And we've got our dressing here. I'm gonna pour that in there. And then we also have our fresh herbs. And here I've got about a half a cup of Italian parsley and basil. And I just roughly chopped it. Now with fresh herbs, you don't want to over chop it because then you actually end up just kind of like, you know, losing, almost kind of like mutilating the fresh herbs. So you really always want to do kind of like a loose, rough chop, just enough to release the essential oils. So we're just going to stir this in here, and I'm going to season it with a little bit of sea salt and fresh ground pepper. We're gonna stir that up, and we're gonna give it a final taste. That is really refreshing. Super refreshing, and so easy to do, by the way. So you can serve this as a side dish to fish, chicken, meat. You could even make it on its own. Quinoa is super high in protein. So for you vegetarians, it's really, really good. You could add vegetables to this. You could add fresh tomatoes, cheese. It's really awesome. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please email me at laura@organicauthority.com/TV. And by the way, leave a comment in the box below.